Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our weekly class. Tonight we're studying Parashat Tzav and the great words of Rav Shimshon Pincus. Rav Pincus goes on to explain how in the book of Leviticus we speak about the different sacrifices, and there are four main types of sacrifices. I'll say them in Hebrew, and then he explains what each one is. There's an olah, that's a burnt offering, a chatat, a sin offering, an asham, a different sin offering, and a shilamim, which is a peace offering. So he goes through and explains each one. A chatat offering is for a sin. It's an offering that a person brings after they've made a mistake, they've sinned on something that they didn't know that was prohibited. That's a chatat. An asham, however, is a sin offering on something you knew wasn't allowed. You simply just forgot at the time that you were committing the sin that you weren't allowed to do it. Those are two sin offerings. Then there's a shlamim offering. Shlamim offering has nothing to do with sin at all. Rather, it's a person bringing a sacrifice, expressing that they want to include God in their simcha, in their joy. And the person who brought it would receive a lot of meat that he used to share with the Kohanim, and he'd bring some home for his family. And now there's a korban todah, and this is what Rav Pincus wants to speak about. Todah literally means thanks, a thanksgiving offering, which was basically a shlamim offering, same type of korban sacrifice. However, there's two differences. First difference is, instead of having, like the peace offering, 2 days and 1 night for it to be finished, for the sacrifice to be finished eating, the todah had to be finished in 1 day and 1 night, in less time. Meaning, if a person brought the sacrifice in the afternoon, if it was a shlamim, you'd have the rest of the day, that evening, and then the next day to eat it. But a korban todah, thanksgiving offering, you only had that afternoon and the evening. Already by dawn, you had to have finished everything. And there's a very, very strong prohibition about having any leftovers from a korban. You had to finish everything. There was one more difference. There was an additional 40 loaves of bread that were brought with a thanksgiving offering, a korban todah. So let's just play this out for a second. The shlamim offering had no bread or less bread and longer time for you to eat it. When the thanksgiving offering, the korban todah, you had less time and more food. Why would this be so? Rav Pincus wants to know. So he says, when you come home after bringing a peace offering, of course, there's plenty of meat, and you ask a couple of your neighbors to come and join you to partake in the meal in order to finish it up on time. But don't forget, you still have the next day to finish it up. So you weren't in such a rush or such urgency to include so many extra people. By a korban todah, thanksgiving offering, however, you had less time and more food to get consumed. What does that mean? You got to call the whole city. You got to call many families to come and join you. Why? You are inviting them all to come. And when they come, it may not be like today, but normally back in the day, someone would come and say, well, what's the reason for the meal? Is it just a free meal, or is there a reason behind this? And when you'd have so many people come and they'd ask you, what's the reason for the barbecue? Why is there so much bread? You would share with them the miracle that Hashem performed with you. The more people that were there, the greater it was. And this is because Hashem wants you. And Rav Pincus says, we learn from here that we have an obligation to share the miracles that happen in your life with others. When something good happens to you, you need to tell others. Why? Because Rav Pincus says, when you share and publicize the great miracles Hashem does for you, by doing so, not only are you coming to a greater realization of how great the miracle that Hashem just performed for you is. But more than that, you are imbuing in others the great faith in God. You are telling Hashem, you're telling others what Hashem did for you. You are expressing how lucky you feel that Hashem did this for you. And the more you are able to share about miracles that are done for you, people are going to start believing in turning to God, in praying to God, in trying to know God better, and in trying, most importantly, to look into their own lives where they could find the miracles that Hashem does for them. It's a very important concept, and this concept is still observed today. There's a famous tradition that when someone has a miracle that's done for them, we do what's called a seudat hoda'ah. It's a Thanksgiving meal. No, it's not the last Thursday in November. That's another time. But anytime a very big miracle is done for a person, they have an obligation, similar to like bringing a korban todah, a Thanksgiving offering, where you'd have to bring so many people together and tell them and express and thank Hashem for the miracle that he did. Today we do the same also. When is this done? Primarily when a person has a child, whether it be a boy or a girl. For a boy, it's going to be by the Brit Milah, that seudah, that meal, is when we are obviously expressing our great thanks to Hashem. And for a girl, by the baby naming. There's supposed to be, by the baby naming, a seudah, a meal, and that meal is one that one is showing great thanks to Hashem, and they should express that to all the attendees. And by the way, many great rabbis say that a person that had a girl that did not make a meal, a Thanksgiving meal for her birth, the same way they did for their son, or they would do for their son, is a very, very, very serious thing. Because anytime a woman is in labor and gives birth, it is a grand miracle. And that when the mother and the baby come out surviving, it is a grand miracle. Other times is, if there were crazy accidents that a person survived, to make a Thanksgiving miracle and express to Hashem the great and thanks and to publicize the miracle to others. Or if a person was extremely sick and they overcame and they were healed, they survived it, that's another time where you make a very important Thanksgiving meal, because of the concept that we are to share with others the great miracles Hashem does for us. And again, why? Because when we share, we're not bragging. No, we're not bragging that Hashem is, doing for me. No, on the contrary, you are showing in your humility, whether you're deserving or undeserving. We know we're all undeserving. But look, prayer works. Hashem's strength is there, and that strengthens the belief and faith that we have in Hashem and all those that are present. So it's a very, very powerful thing. So Bezrat Hashem, may we merit miracles and wonderful times together and have the opportunity to share them with as many people as possible, because that is something that brings more faith and trust in Hashem amongst Am Yisrael.